Hi there. It sometimes seems that I ramble on about many topics here, but too often it ends up returning back to gear. Now, I guess it's an unfortunate point to make, but it seems that whenever I do a video that is primarily about gear, it gets a lot of views. When I talk about things that are not gear related, the number of views declines considerably. That's an unfortunate fact about photographers, photography, and YouTube. And that is the fact that many people are simply fascinated by the gear, but don't really want to talk as much about the results you get by using that gear, how you go about dealing with your photography. Now that's why I kept referring back to David Duchemin and Ted Forbes. Not because I think that these two gentlemen are the be-all and end-all ultimate people to learn from. Far from it. They are, in fact, though, among the few who seem to spend far more time talking about the process of photography than about the gear that was used. Now, I've looked at sites for other people who also speak that way, but too often I am bombarded by a stream of negativity. Someone who simply wants to talk about the fact that all these other people are wrong and they're right. Well, excuse me, I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in right or wrong. I'm interested in, can I learn something from you? Do you have something to teach me? Is there something you can do that will help me with my photography? So get off your high horse, stop looking for excuses to run down someone else, and instead, let's do something positive. So, having said that, my current goal, as I've expressed in the last couple of videos, is starting to pay off. I mean, let's face it, I've been pushing the idea that what we have to do is really to define ourselves as photographers not by what we own, but by what we do with that equipment. Are we simply snap shooters who may have a very high quality, very good camera, but who don't really plan pictures very much and simply allow the camera to take care of all of the technical bits, and that's it? Or are we photographers? Are we actually thinking about getting the process right, of making the best of the image, of composing something, or at least framing something carefully in that viewfinder so that we end up with a picture that will have some significance? Now, at the same time, I've also been one of the people who will talk about the fact that pictures of friends and family, whether they're taken on vacation or whatever, are extremely important. But that doesn't mean they can't be done well. And therein lies the difference. When you can present pictures of your friends and family to others and they admire them, not just because they know these people, but because they admire the quality of the image, then you're doing something right. Anyhow, I was trying to limit my gear and limit myself, and I had started the process. I have drifted away from it somewhat at times. Right now, this is the camera that I will be used most often with this lens. This is a 25 millimeter, which means it's a normal focal length on micro four thirds, on my OMD EM1. Now, the nice thing about this, it offers me a lot of flexibility. It's quite a capable camera, and with this lens, I have basically the nifty 50, the fast prime, to get images in all sorts of different conditions. I'm trying to stick to that. However, since I had so much gear, I looked at it and said, well, what else can I do that makes sense? I have a bunch of old Minolta Maxxum lenses and an older Sony Alpha Body. So what I've done is actually package all that up and taken it to our summer retreat. When we go now on weekends, I don't bother to take a camera with me other than my old EP2 in a bag just in case I see something on the way. And when I get there, I have a choice of some very nice fixed aperture zooms and a couple of very nice prime lenses, including a macro. So I choose a lens to put on that camera for every outing I take. If I'm walking down to the beach, I will probably put a 70-210 f4 on it, because at the beach I'm likely to see birds and so on. I'm not talking about going to the beach in the middle of the day when it's full of people. I'm talking about going to the beach early in the morning in order to see what's there. Sometimes there are herons, there are always gulls, there are many other seabirds that drop by. So that's a good choice for me. If I'm just walking around, I will probably put the 50mm f2.8 macro on, because you never know when I'm going to see something small that I would like to get a picture of. The point I'm making is I don't carry around the bag with all the lenses. That is a distraction. Instead, I make a choice and I stick with it. And therein lies the crux of all of this. Despite having all this gear and all these cameras, I'm trying to limit myself to, at any given time, one camera with one lens. And that lens can be a zoom or a prime, whatever. But it's something that I will work with that particular outing, that particular time, that particular day. Now, what do we need to look at more than anything with regards to photography? Well, I used the word composition, then I changed it to framing, because it was very interesting when somebody pointed out the fact that a painter composes an image because a painter decides what's going to go into the image. It's an additive process. A photographer frames an image because they're stuck with whatever is in front of their camera. The skill of the photographer is in finding an angle, a position, a focal length that will show your subject in the best possible light. Pardon the pun there, because I'm not just talking about the light, I'm talking about the image having some substance. The best possible light without too many distractions. So getting an angle that cleans up your background, getting an angle that takes out anything in the foreground, getting an angle that takes away some bright object that may attract the viewer's attention. That's framing. And that is something that I have been trying to practice more than anything else. I have not been going out and setting my camera on manual and trying to get my exposures just right. I admit I haven't done that as much. In fact, I simply put it on aperture priority, take a look at the histogram. If I think I need a little more exposure, I use my exposure compensation. That way my aperture tells me what the depth of field I'm going to have, and that to me is the most significant item most of the time. I will switch to other modes if I need to. If I'm shooting something like a stage show where the lighting is fairly consistent but the background is often lit, then I will set it on manual exposure, because if not, I am going to get my exposures are going to be all of them map. So I really need to then spot meter off one of the subjects on stage, get that metering right, and then keep it, and make minor adjustments as the program progresses if needs be. But as I said, aperture priority, it's something I've been dealing with for a very long time. My first serious camera was a Pentax ME Super, which was an aperture priority automatic camera, and I used it in that aperture priority mode consistently. I very rarely ever put it on manual. Anyhow, get out and take some pictures. Get out and practice. One of the newer members of our photography group, interestingly enough, she sort of happened onto it by seeing some images that one of the other members, who was her hairdresser at the time, one of the other members had. And she made some comment about really loving to be able to take pictures like that. And as a result, she was invited to the club. Once there, she decided she needed a camera. She looked around. She found something that she thought would be suitable for her, which was actually a very good choice. And now she is posting images regularly that even though she has some technical aspects to still learn, her framing is fantastic. She has a tremendous eye for the image. And it's really good to see someone that comes along that quickly, because it's not about the gear for them. It's about the composition. It's about getting that framing right. And again, I'm flip-flopping between the word composition and framing, because we still traditionally use the word composition. I merely point out the fact that maybe it's not the most appropriate word, but it is one that works. Anyhow, guys, this weekend I'm hoping to get some nice shots, maybe even some fireworks shots. Canada Day is coming up. It's 150 years for the country. In the meantime, get out there, take some pictures, get some practice, learn. That's a lot more important than buying gear. Well, if you like it, don't forget to click like. If you want to see more of my videos, you know how to subscribe. And of course, if you think that someone might get something useful from this particular video, then share it. Bye for now.